1. On the day when Sean made a high-profile confession to his goddess. In front of everyone. He told me not to pester him anymore. Because my girlfriend doesn't like it. I nodded. Took out my phone. And immediately blacklisted and deleted all his contact information, thus disappearing from his life. Many years later, we met again at a high-end business event. He, who had always been calm and elegant, lost his composure and, with red eyes, asked me for an explanation. I then took the arm of someone else in front of him. He chased after me and said he loved me. I hid behind someone else and said to him, "Your love is really cheap. Don't come near me. I find it dirty." Sean has never lacked women around him since he was a teenager. His girlfriends come and go like passing scenery. He changes several girlfriends in a year. As his little follower, I have been by his side for 10 years. Sean's friends always joke that there are flowing girlfriends and an unchanging little follower. My family and Sean's grandma's family are neighbors. His parents are both doing business outside and have no time to take care of him. He grew up at his grandparents' home. So we have known each other since we were young. I liked him a long time ago. At the age of 14, I confessed to him for the first time. At that time, in junior high school. After evening self-study, I walked on the road with him one after the other on our way home. With a flushed face, I gently tugged at the corner of his clothes from behind. He turned his head. "What? Something wrong?" I stammered. "Sean, I like you. Can you be my boyfriend? Like me?" He seemed very surprised. Then he turned around with a sneer, walked to a street lamp on the side, put his hands in his pockets, and leaned lazily against the pole. His eyebrows were slightly raised, and his long and narrow eyes looked me up and down. I stood awkwardly, my body stiff. In just a few minutes, it seemed as long as a century, my palms were full of sweat. After a while, his thin lips parted. No. My heart sank little by little. And I was so sad that I couldn't say a word. "You are too young to understand what love is." Seeing me silent, he came over and rubbed my head, saying softly, "Little kid, study hard. I'll take you to eat buffet tomorrow." Later, he rambled on a lot, but I didn't listen to a word. After that, he acted as if nothing had happened and went to and from school with me as usual. But soon after, he easily accepted the confession of another girl. She was the class beauty of the next class. When the girl confessed, I was standing right beside. Sean asked her, "What do you like about me?" "Good looking, handsome when playing ball. I think we are a perfect match." The girl was bright and bold, staring at Sean. Her eyes were burning. "Sean, do you agree or not?" Sean looked at her with a smile. I stood quietly beside Sean, but my heart was in turmoil. I was even more nervous than the confessing girl. "Okay." In my ear was Sean's light reply. He agreed to her. My mind exploded, and was left blank. Sean let go of my hand and rubbed my head. "Be good. Brother is in love and going on a date. Go home by yourself. Okay?" After saying that, he took the class beauty's hand and left without looking back. I stared at the backs of the two of them, as they walked away, and was in a daze for a long time. Sean was in love. I was even more miserable than when I was rejected in my first confession. I don't know how I got home that day. After Sean was in love, he never came to look for me again. I didn't have many friends to begin with. After he was in love, I was alone. Just when I was gradually accepting this state, Sean came to look for me again. His relationship with the class beauty lasted less than 2 months, and then they broke up. He came to pick me up from school. Looking at my surprised eyes, he said infuriately, "We broke up. It's boring." Just like that, I watched him being confessed by one girl after another by his side. Then he held their hands and left me alone on the road. However, his relationships were all short-lived and couldn't last for 3 months. After each breakup, he would come to find me. As if compensating. He would take me to eat big meals and buy me things. I didn't know what kind of person he regarded me as. He was very good to me. But it seemed not so good either. He would take me out to play and introduce me to his friends. When I was bullied, he would stand up and beat the bullies black and blue. He would give me a hug when I was sad and was never stingy in buying me gifts. But he never said he liked me and never gave me any promises. He clearly knew that I liked him. But he accepted others in front of me again and again. Once, Sean's brothers asked what our relationship was. He leaned lazily on the sofa and chuckled. What relationship can there be? Have you ever raised a pet? He touched my head and looked at me sideways. It's almost the same. 2. From 14 to 24. My life trajectory is all related to Sean. From junior high school to high school and then to college. We all attended the same school. After graduation, he started his own company and asked me to help him. A month ago, Sean met Fiona, who had just returned from studying abroad at an event. Different from the past flocks of beauties. This time he fell in love with Fiona at first sight. He was a man of action. He got all of Fiona's information on the same day, and then pursued her vigorously. Sean himself is handsome, rich, young and promising. Before long, he captured her heart. Fiona has come to our company several times. They are very intimate in the company. Sean told us that he finally found his goddess and wanted to give Fiona a romantic confession ceremony. He handed over all the company's business to me, and said that this was his first confession in life and he didn't want to be perfunctory. So he had to plan it himself. The confession ceremony was held on the Riverside Square in our city. That night, several skyscrapers on the other side of the river were flashing the love slogan of AS while of GFF. At the same time, hundreds of drones took off at the same time and successively formed a series of perfect patterns such as roses, hugs, and holding hands. Everyone by the river stopped to watch this grand occasion. Everyone was infected by this romantic atmosphere and discussed one after another about which girl was so happy. On the billboards of the buildings, the whole process of the confession was live-streamed. The camera switched to the scene. Sean was wearing a well-tailored suit. His figure was tall and straight. He looked noble and elegant, making people unable to look away. So handsome. What a pity. He belongs to someone else. The girls chattered one after another. Fiona had long hair draped over her shoulders and was wearing a white dress. Standing on the stage, she was full of goddess charm. They looked at each other. Their eyes were full of tenderness and affection. There were people clamoring beside one's ears. Oh my God. Look at that gaze. I'm numb. Undoubtedly true love. I'm jealous. Sean took a large bouquet of roses from the master of ceremonies. Step by step, he walked onto the stage and made a deep confession to Fiona, asking her to be his girlfriend. She smiled, her face full of happiness. She took the flowers handed over by Sean and said shyly, "I do." Subsequently, the two embraced tightly and kissed passionately. The sound of fireworks blooming and people's cheers mixed together, all blessing this pair of beauties. Are they a good match? Right? The girl beside was extremely excited. I believe in love again. I also want to find a boyfriend like this. Sean is a high-profile person. He wants the whole world to see his love and favoritism for Fiona. The entire process of their confession was simultaneously live-streamed across the entire network. Tens of millions of netizens watched this romantic and luxurious confession ceremony. Netizens commented one after another. The rich end up with each other while the poor witness it. Is this the favoritism of a domineering president? I'm jealous. In my next life, I also want to find one like this. Sean invited all his friends to witness his happy moment. I was also invited to the scene. His buddy joked, "Is Sean serious this time? A confession ceremony costs several million." Of course. It's completely different from before. In the past, they all stuck to him on their own. Only Fiona was pursued by him actively. Unexpectedly, Sean also has a day when a prodigal son turns back, and a playboy settles down. One of his buddies looked at me jokingly. Little sidekick. It seems that you are about to be unemployed. 3 After the ceremony, Sean took Fiona and introduced us to her one by one. Everyone was very cooperative and wished them happiness with smiles all over their faces. Fiona chatted and laughed with everyone with a smile. When it was my turn, Fiona spoke first. She looked at me and said, "Are you Ivy? I know you." Sean looked at Fiona doubtingly. "Baby, tell me, how do you know Ivy?" Fiona gave Sean a sideways glance and snorted delicately. "MPH. Who doesn't know that there is a little sidekick who has been pestering you for 10 years? It seems that she has also done some research on Sean. But saying that I pestered him is truly unjust." Her tone was full of contempt and disdain for me. The people who had watched before hadn't completely dispersed. People were looking at me maliciously. I seemed to be separated from everyone, facing the malice of the whole world alone. I really didn't pester him. It was Sean who came to find me on his own. He is the light in my heart. From childhood to adulthood, I have been used to waiting. That can't be said like that. Little sidekick is the same as us. Sean just treats her as a buddy. Another of Sean's brothers, Leo, couldn't stand it and defended me. If she had a sex change operation, I would believe that you are really buddies with her. Otherwise, isn't this just a male version of a green tea? Fiona rolled her eyes and wouldn't let it go. It seems that if she isn't satisfied tonight, she won't give up. Sean sighed and looked at her helplessly. "Baby, what do you want me to do to be satisfied? I don't want to see her again." "Okay. That's not difficult. I'll just ask her to leave." Sean hugged Fiona and coaxed gently. "Be good. Don't get angry because of an irrelevant person." After coaxing Fiona, he looked up at me. "You see, I have a girlfriend now. We don't need to meet again in the future." Fiona added 2 more sentences. "You can't contact each other online either. Chatting online is most likely to cause trouble." "Okay. As you wish." Sean agreed readily and looked at me. "Ivy, don't pester me anymore in the future. Otherwise, Fiona will be unhappy." I nodded and said okay. I took out my phone and, in front of everyone, blacklisted and then deleted Sean's phone number and social media platforms. After deleting, I waved my phone. "I've deleted all your contact information." Then for the company side, "I'll resign to you today. Wish you happiness. Goodbye. Never see you again." Turning around and leaving. Walking by the river and blowing the evening breeze. There was no expected sadness. Instead, it was as if a burden had been lifted. My light has gone to illuminate others. I don't need him anymore. Leo chased after me and nervously looked at me. "Little sidekick. Are you okay?" I stopped and looked at him and smiled, spreading out my hands. What could be wrong? He scratched his head in embarrassment and murmured, "No. I think you are too calm. It shouldn't be like this." Yes. I also think it shouldn't be like this. But I'm really not very sad anymore. Perhaps my heart has already died. When he was being affectionate with other girls in front of me again and again, my love for him also dissipated little by little. If you want to cry, then cry. I won't laugh at you. Sean is mainly trying to coax his girlfriend now. Later, he will definitely restore contact with you. Just wait a bit longer. I shook my head. No. I don't want to wait anymore. From the age of 14 to 24. For a full 10 years. I'm tired. For the next day, I remembered that I still had some personal items, including my ID card, bank card, and some important certificates, all placed in the company. I had said never to see each other again. But in order to get these things back, I still had to brace myself and go back to the company. I just hoped that Sean wasn't in the company. He was currently love-struck and focused on pursuing Fiona. Probably I wouldn't run into him. Right? When I entered the company building, there were several people holding cameras filming at the gate. Perhaps Sean's confession scene last night was so shocking that many reporters surrounded the company, wanting to dig up more news. I swiped my card to enter, but found that the access card had expired. When the front desk saw me, her expression was a bit awkward. Through the glass door, she said to me, "Sister Ivy. Mr. Sean said that you have already resigned. He specifically instructed that if you come to the company, don't let you in." I was stunned for a moment, and suppressed the anger in my heart. "I'm here to pick up my personal belongings. I'll leave as soon as I get them." "But..." The front desk hesitated for a moment. "Why don't you wait?" I'll ask General Manager Sean for instructions. She returned to her workstation. It was about to make a call when Sean walked out of the office with Fiona in his arms. They were being affectionate as they walked. Sean's eyes were always on Fiona, and he didn't see me at all. It wasn't until Fiona pinched Sean's arm and whispered something to him. "See? I said she would definitely come back and pester you." Then she looked at me mockingly. Sean frowned. "Ivy, didn't you resign? What are you doing here?" "My things are still in the company. I'm here to pick them up." Sean signaled with his eyes for me to leave quickly. "What's so important?" "I'll have someone send it to you." In the past, every time we were on the road and he was confessed to by other girls, he would signal with this kind of look for me to leave quickly and not disturb him. I would always walk away silently. But this time, I don't want to cooperate with him anymore. The reporter's camera was shooting back and forth between me and the two of them. I don't know what kind of smear I will be subjected to on the internet later. I stood there motionless and insisted, "No. I want to pick it up myself. I'm afraid there will be omissions. In case something is lost. It's troublesome to reapply for certificates. Besides, it only takes a few minutes to pick up things." "Ivy, are you leaving or not?" There was obvious impatience on Sean's face. He should want me to disappear on the spot immediately. "Can't you be less shameless?" I looked at him calmly. "Even if I resign, I should be allowed to pick up my things before leaving. Right? If you don't let me, I'll call the police." "Go ahead. Pick it up and get out of here quickly." Sean waved his hand and then looked at the security guard beside him. "You follow her and give her 10 minutes to pack. After 10 minutes, make her leave immediately." 5 While Sean was talking to me, Fiona had already walked over to the reporters and was being interviewed by them. "Miss Gu, how did you and General Manager Sean meet?" Fiona smoothed back her hair. Her smile was appropriate. "Sean and I met at an investment promotion conference. Speaking of which, our two families are still in a competitive relationship. It can be said that we became acquainted through competition." "Then who got this project in the end?" "Of course I got it." Fiona looked proud. "I just graduated and returned to the country this year. This is also my first project." Unexpectedly. "I'm really lucky. Even General Manager Sean is my defeated opponent. And Sean cooperated with her from time to time. I admire Fiona's ability and talent." The reporters praised Fiona vigorously. I sighed silently in my heart and walked towards my office. The project that Song Fiona mentioned should have been ours. But as soon as Sean saw Fiona, he went crazy and showed the bidding plan that I had worked hard on for months to Fiona. In the last round of bidding, Sean didn't let me go. Probably because he was afraid that I would delay his pursuit of the goddess. After the colleagues who participated in the bidding came back, they were indignant. The bidding document that Fiona took is exactly the same as the one Ivy's sister made. I really don't know what General Manager Sean is thinking. I casually asked Sean why. This is Fiona's first project. I don't want her confidence to be hit. We don't have to do this project. So what's the problem with giving it to her? Oh, I have to say, this man Sean is really lovesick sometimes. After I took my personal belongings and went home, I unexpectedly received a call from my colleague Xiao Yaoyang. "Ivy's sister. How did you negotiate the Kai Yang order before?" The call was made by Sean, and I heard Sean's voice from the phone. Finally, he remembered that I was handling the company's business recently. Finally thought of me? But I have already resigned. "Ivy's sister. Don't be angry. Where did you put the plan for the Kaiying project? General Manager Chen on the other side said he wants to communicate with you in person. Can you go on behalf of the company again? No. I have other things to do. Ivy. When did you become so stubborn? The caller on the other end has changed from Xiao Yang to Sean. General Manager Sean. Sorry. I have something to do. I won't talk anymore. I hung up the phone directly and silently blacklisted the number. 6. I took out my bank card and calculated the money I had in the past few years. It's not a lot, but it's not too little either. In the past few years of starting a business with Sean, although it was hard work, the company developed well and had considerable profits. I saved several million in total from my salary and year-end dividends. I am going to use the money to study abroad. I majored in engineering in college. I am introverted and slow to warm up. I am not good at dealing with people. After graduating from college, Sean said he wanted to start a business and asked me to help him at that time. Without hesitation, I gave up the engineer offer from a large enterprise in my hand and started a business with him. I entered an industry I didn't know and engaged in a job I didn't like. In order to get orders, I, who am not good at interacting, forced myself to visit customers every day, have meals and drinks with them. Sometimes I even had to endure being harassed by lecherous souled men. But in order to get the project, I endured it all. Now that I leave Sean, I can finally do what I like. I picked up my phone and scrolled through WeChat. I originally wanted to post a message on Moments to inform that I have resigned so that customers wouldn't always contact me about the company's business. Accidentally, I found that I had also been kicked out of Sean's group of buddies. The group is full of Sean's childhood friends. I am also very familiar with them, and have known them for many years. The group owner is not Sean but his classmate Ray. So when I blacklisted all of Sean's social platforms, I didn't quit this group. After Ray kicked me out, he sent me a private message, "Little follower. I'm really sorry. Sean asked me to temporarily remove you to please his girlfriend." In fact, this is not the first time Sean has asked Ray to do this. When Sean was in college, he had a girlfriend who was very jealous. She took Sean's mobile phone and privately deleted all the female contacts in his WeChat. Then she asked Sean to kick me out of the group. Sean had no choice but to ask Ray to temporarily remove me, because of her making a fuss. When Sean likes someone, he wants to give her the whole world. That girlfriend was very capricious. At first, he indulged her. Later, when he got tired of her, he broke up without hesitation. After breaking up, he added me back. So this time, his friends think it's reasonable to remove me. Perhaps in their eyes, I am just an accessory on Sean. They seldom call me by my name. They all call me, little follower. Sean said that if he dumped me, they would all abandon me. I silently blacklisted and deleted all of them. From now on, I am just Ivy. Not someone's attachment. 7 on social networks are all confession videos of Sean and Fiona. Sean's love for Fiona can be seen by the whole world. Fiona in the video is as beautiful as a princess. The comments are all full of blessings for the two of them as a perfect match. I calmly look at the comments one by one. Yes, they are indeed extremely well matched. Sean likes women with good family backgrounds, bright looks, fair skin, and enchanting figures. As for me, I grew up in a broken family. I am introverted and have an inferiority complex. And my figure is flat. When I was young, I always had short hair. Occasionally, Sean would taunt me that my figure was like a flat board and no different from a man. I have confessed to Sean more than once. Once after he broke up, he put his arm around my shoulder and said to me, "Ivy, you are still so good. You have a good temper and are comfortable to be with." In fact, it's not that I have a good temper. It's just that growing up in that kind of family, I have no ability to resist. Life has long taught me to endure and yield. I asked him, "Since you think I am comfortable to be with, why won't you be with me?" Sean fiddled with my short hair and chuckled. "Don't joke. Ivy. In what way do you look like a woman? He raised the iPad in his hand and looked at me maliciously. Look at your figure. What's the difference between you and my tablet? Every girlfriend I've had is curvaceous. When we walk together, others will only think you are my younger brother. When I was a child, I was malnourished and skinny. I was often ridiculed as a matchstick girl. When I grew up, except for growing taller, my figure was still as flat as ever. This has also become the best excuse for Sean to reject me. But it made me very ashamed and embarrassed that he was so blunt in saying this to me. Of course, he has other excuses from time to time. Ivy. You are so thin that it's uncomfortable to touch. You are so dark. You are darker than the firewood stick at my grandma's house. You are so short. People will think I am taking care of a child. In short, I have many shortcomings and I am not the type he likes. After being rejected by him many times, I became numb. From feeling inferior and sad when I was rejected for the first time to being calm later. In the past 2 years, I haven't confessed to him again, but I still stay by his side. This has already become a habit. I have to say that it really takes courage to change a habit. In the evening, Sean ran to my apartment to find me. He pounded on the door loudly. Ivy. Open the door. I have something to talk to you about. When I opened the door, Sean had an impatient expression. Ivy. You are quite capable now. I turned to look at him. What do you mean? You not only blacklisted me but also blacklisted Xiao Yang? Is there a problem? Can't I blacklist others? He sighed and reached out his hand to my head. I knew he wanted to rub my head again. I took a step back and dodged his hand. You'd better stay away from me. Otherwise, your girlfriend will say that I am a man-stealing bitch again. He seemed surprised and withdrew his hand. You can't be really angry, can you? Ivy? Sean. Everyone has a temper. Oh. Now you have quite a temper. Sean smiled and didn't take it seriously. Last night and this morning. You know I didn't mean that. Fiona was there. I had to follow her. You were wronged. Ivy. Wait a little longer. When Fiona is not so angry, I will coax her more. Then you can come back to the company and help me. She still doesn't have much sense of security. I have to follow her more. But after you left for only 1 day, I am exhausted. I am really in a mess with the company's affairs. Take my phone number out of the blacklist. For work matters. I will call you if I have questions. Sean talked on and on, still not paying attention to my attitude and emotions. Seeing that I didn't respond, he looked around my room. Because I was preparing to pack my luggage. It was a bit messy. Where are you going? Going home? There is no one at your home. I shook my head and didn't tell him that I was going abroad. I just want to go out for a walk. I have already made an appointment with the landlord. I will return the rent tomorrow afternoon. Sean didn't take it seriously. Okay. Go if you want. Pull me out of the blacklist. Did you hear? Are you really serious? For the Kai Yang order, General Manager Chen has arranged a meeting with you next Friday. You go for me. And for the Jiali project, follow up for me again. These 2 orders were just negotiated by me recently. The amount is very large. Sean didn't participate at all. Sean. I have resigned. I want to leave here and never see you again. That's enough. Ivy. Don't tell me you are still playing the game of running away from home? So childish. Sean looked at me carelessly. I knew you would come to find her. Fiona didn't know when she had already stood at the door. As soon as Sean saw her, he looked panicked and quickly explained, No. Baby. It's really about company matters that I am looking for her. If you don't believe me, ask Ivy. Of course. She didn't believe it. Can't you ask by phone? Do you have to come to her house to ask? Sean spread his hands. There's no way. She has blacklisted us all. Fiona looked at me contemptuously, playing the trick of playing hard to get again. So disgusting. I was tired of their behavior. Holding a broom. I gave an order to evict them expressionlessly. Please leave. I want to clean the house. Thank you. Sean put his arm around Fiona and repeatedly assured her, baby. Don't worry. I don't like her at all. She is short and ugly. She is not even as good as one of your fingernails. I don't. Blind. After coaxing Fiona, he said to me again. We've agreed. Ivy. Please follow up on those two projects again. Sean. I didn't promise. Sean waved his hand and left without looking back. With his arm around Fiona. He is convinced that I won't go against his will. So my resistance is just a petty tantrum in his eyes. He won't take it too hard at all. 9. The interview videos of Fiona and Sean in the company has spread on the internet. At the same time, the video of me pestering Sean in the company has also spread. This video of me only has images but no sound. Clearly, I was just going back to get something. But I was wrongly guided to be pestering Sean. There are also people with ulterior motives who posted the video of Fiona satirizing me as a manly bitch last night on the internet. I suddenly became a rat crossing the street on the internet. Looking at her pretending to be pitiful is really disgusting. I know people like her. Those manly bitches, who mix in with men. Acting like buddies with everyone. But many men will be deceived by her. I heard that she has been chasing President Sean for 10 years. And President Sean has ignored her. President Sean is a good person. He is not blind or a pushover. When he has a real girlfriend, he immediately drives away the manly bitch. It's so satisfying. They are a perfect match. Isn't she ashamed of pestering them? This is the first time I have been criticized on the internet. I want to explain and clarify. But it's useless. There are too many people of justice on the internet. I seriously explained in the comment area that I just went back to get my personal documents. As soon as this comment was sent out, it was drowned in countless comments scolding me without causing any waves. Forget it. I'm tired. I won't explain anymore. Anyway, I'm leaving. I checked out of the hotel, set my phone to silent mode, and didn't answer any calls from my colleagues. The visa was issued quickly. I didn't say goodbye to anyone and went abroad alone. 5 years later, I returned to China for the first time. I came to Bincheng to attend a high-end business conference. On behalf of our company, as the technical director, I introduced the latest technologies and future prospects of the industry to the guests. When I stepped onto the podium, someone in the audience stood up. I took a look. It was Sean. He stared at me intently and walked towards me. I didn't expect to meet Sean when I came to Bincheng this time. Because before, when we were in college and running a company, we were in Yangqing City. Bincheng and Yangqing are thousands of kilometers apart. One in the south and one in the north. The industry his previous company was engaged in has nothing to do with our industry. Seeing him in this occasion, I was still a bit curious. Sean in front of me was still dressed in a suit and leather shoes, looking like a successful elite. But his face was full of vicissitudes and fatigue. In the eyes of everyone's confusion, he walked towards the podium and came up to me. He stretched out his hands and tightly grasped my shoulders on both sides. Ivy, where have you been these years? Do you know that I've been looking for you for 5 years? You left without a sound. Don't you know that everyone is very worried about you? This is the first time I've seen Sean. I smiled and motioned to the security personnel. Sorry. This gentleman is a bit emotional. Please take him away. Several security guards came over and asked him to leave. He showed his ID. I am Sean from Innan Group. I have something to discuss with Miss Ivy. When the security guards heard his name, they all stopped. It seems that Sean is quite influential in Bincheng. My partner Ryan came up. I had told Ryan all about my past. Of course. He also knew this person. Sean. President Sean. Now it's Miss Jiang's speech time. Do you have to discuss personal matters with her in public like this? Many people in the audience were whispering. It's so strange. Why is President Sean of Innan Group so excited? What's wrong with Sean? Didn't he say he was indifferent to women? Why is he suddenly so crazy? What indifference to women? I heard that he has been looking for a lost childhood friend these years. Sean looked at the people in the audience and finally calmed down. Sorry. I was a bit emotional just now, and caused trouble to everyone. I'll come to see you later. I cleared my throat and picked up the microphone. Sorry. There was a little situation just now. Let's start now. 11 After the speech. We accepted interviews from the media, mainly answering some questions related to products and industry trends. Later, a few journalists began to ask gossip questions. May I ask what is the relationship between Miss Zhang and President Sean of Anan Group? I smiled and said, we knew each other when we were children. I heard that President Sean has been looking for a girl. Is it you? No. But President Sean just said in an interview that it's you? I don't know. Thank you. Ryan put his arm around me and squeezed out from the siege of journalists. On the other side of the conference hall, Sean seemed to be pulling and tugging with a girl. Sean, help our family. Let go. If you don't let go, I'll call the police. The girl held onto Sean's sleeve and wouldn't let go. Help me one more time. I can only beg you. Sean. When I got closer, I found out that this girl was Fiona. Only 5 years have passed. The goddess who was so glorious at that time has lost her luster on her face. With disheveled hair. She is like a shrew. People around were talking, is this the daughter of the Gu Group in Yongqing City? Alas. It's a pity that the Gu Group has collapsed now. A fallen phoenix is not as good as a chicken. But I heard that President Sean once failed in starting a business. She dumped President Sean. Who knew that Sean's company was just for fun? He directly returned to Bincheng to take over the family group. Then she regretted it. I heard that she goes to block President Sean and Nan Group every day. President Sean doesn't let her get close at all. She is too greedy and wants President Sean to save their Gu Group. Who would be that sucker? When passing by Fiona, she recognized me. Ivy. Aren't you dead? You're actually still alive? As soon as her words fell, Sean slapped her hard on the face. So you really have something going on with this manly bitch. At that time, you said that she was ugly and short. Not even comparable to one of my fingernails. Why? Now you hit me for her? Fiona. Shut up. Who do you think you are? Fiona rushed up and started fighting with Sean, but was held back by Sean's assistant. She was crying and making a scene. Ryan took the opportunity to take me away from this chaotic scene. At the evening cocktail party, I was wearing an evening gown. Ryan and I split up and, holding glasses, introduced our products to partners and explored potential customers. Ivy. I don't know when Sean had already stood aside. There was still a bright red scratch on his face. It was probably scratched when he was fighting with Fiona in the morning. Sean stared at me, his eyes burning. Ivy. Do you have time? Let's talk. Mr. Sean. Sorry. I don't have time now. With a proper smile, I raised my glass to him. He was stunned for a moment. Looking disappointed, he sighed faintly. Well, I'll wait for you. After saying that, he really sat down on a chair next to us. It seemed that he was prepared to wait forever. I was really curious. 5 years ago, he didn't even want to listen to me finish speaking. Now he has such patience. I had to take out my phone and send a message to Ryan, asking him to come to me first after it was over. Ryan is my schoolmate when I was studying for a master's degree in the United States. He has always encouraged me and made me a better and more confident person. After graduation, we established a company together. He leads sales and business, and I am responsible for research and development. After finishing talking with partners, Sean got up and came to pull me. Ivy. Do you have time to talk to me now? I waved to Ryan and called him over. Sean looked at Ryan, frowning and looking vigilant. Ivy. This is a matter between the two of us. There's no need for a third person to be present. Right? Sean. This is my partner. Say what you want quickly. We still have to go and talk to another client. This time when I return to China. One purpose is to participate in industry technology exchanges. And the other is to develop customers. After all, the domestic market is large. Sean reached out to pull me. I dodged behind Ryan. Ryan took my hand and was about to leave. It seems that Mr. Sean doesn't intend to talk anymore. Then we'll take our leave. Sean quickly stepped in front of us. His eyes full of disappointment and anger. Wait. Ivy. What's your relationship with him? Do you know that I've been looking for you for 5 whole years? In these 5 years, I've been almost crazy looking for you. Ivy. Do you have a heart at all? It's normal for him to be unable to accept it. After all, in his impression, I will always follow behind him in everything and put him first in everything. Ryan stood in front of me. Mr. Sean is joking. May I ask what's your relationship with Ivy? As far as I know, you are just childhood friends. Right? It was you who drove her away from you with your own hands. Now don't pretend to be a lovesick fool. She is a living person. Not your pet. When have you ever respected her and considered her feelings? You wait for her. What does it have to do with her? Have you given her a promise? Did she ask you to wait? Sean was ashamed and angry. He came over to push Ryan. Shut up. Who are you to her? Ryan pulled me aside. Sean shouted at me. Ivy. Don't you have a mouth? Say it yourself. Okay. I agreed. It seemed that I had to make things clear for him to be reconciled. What do you want to ask? Why did you leave without saying goodbye? Sean. I said goodbye to you at that time. But you didn't take it seriously. I said. I'm leaving. You said. Ivy. Playing the trick of running away from home is very childish. Sean's face froze. He muttered. Ivy. I was sorry. Sean. I am a living person. I also have my own likes and emotions. Why do you think that I am such a person who can be summoned and dismissed at will? When have you and your buddies considered my feelings? Ivy. I'm sorry. After you left, I realized that I was wrong. In these 5 years, I haven't missed you for a single day. Ivy. I always thought that you were so depressed that you committed suicide. I have lived in guilt and self-blame every day. I smiled. Sean. You really don't understand me. Although I was very cowardly before, I have never been a person who jokes with life. I grew up with great difficulty. I haven't seen the wonders of life yet. How could I give up my life easily? You see, I'm living well now. You don't have to blame yourself anymore. I spread out my hands to him and smiled politely. Let the past pass. Ivy. What's your relationship with him? Sean pointed at Ryan and asked me. Ryan took my hand. Our fingers intertwined. Mr. Song. Ivy and I know and love each other. We are schoolmates, work partners, and lovers who have a deep connection. Of course, she is also the person I want to spend my life with. When I went to the United States, I was alone. Although I was firm in leaving Sean, I was also very confused and lonely. I met Ryan at the new school. He told me, Ivy, you are great. Ivy, you are so cool. Your skin color is very healthy. He would never attack my appearance. For my shortcomings, he would only encourage me and help me improve and change. Getting along with Ryan, I finally understand the feeling of being valued and cared for by someone. Ryan gave me a full sense of security. I no longer have appearance anxiety and I am no longer worried about gains and losses. Ivy. Is what he said true? I nodded to him. Yes. We plan to get married next year. Sean's eyes reddened. He was shocked and unable to accept it. How is it possible? You have loved me for 10 years. Why can you let go so easily? At this moment, his expression was just like a scorned and betrayed resentful woman. Sean. No one will wait for you forever. I am a person, and I will get tired. Ivy. I love you. Didn't you always want to be my girlfriend? I promise you now. Don't be naughty. Okay? In these years. I really miss you so much. Ryan pulled me up. Mr. Sean. Sorry. We still have a client meeting. Ivy and I will take our leave first. Ivy. You are not allowed to leave. Sean grabbed my other hand. I was pulled by Ryan and Sean. Sean. Don't pester anymore. Don't say that you love me anymore. I find it disgusting. You don't know how many women you have said I love you to. Don't say it to me again. These 3 words are really dirty and cheap when they come out of your mouth. I didn't want to say such harsh words either. But when I heard his confession, I felt extremely disgusted and had a physiological aversion. Affection that comes late is cheaper than grass. I would rather he had never loved me. After hearing what I said, Sean stayed there with a pale face. 14 Sean didn't pester me anymore. Seeing him only reminds me of my humble past. Once I regarded him as a life-saving straw. Later, I realized that the only one we can rely on is always ourselves. I only hope that he and I can get along like strangers. Or if I am more magnanimous, nodding acquaintances will do. Ryan said that the domestic market is good and wants to open a branch company here. Ryan and I run back and forth between domestic and foreign countries. After the domestic business starts, we inevitably have to deal with major entrepreneurs in Bincheng and also encounter Sean several times. Every time he just nods at us faintly. We really become nodding acquaintances. 5 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that Sean and I would become so strange. Later one day, he called me and said that his grandma was seriously ill and hospitalized and wanted to see me. After he came to Bincheng, he also brought his grandma here. Sean and his grandma have a deep affection. His grandma is kind-hearted and very good to me. When I was a child, she pitied me for not having enough to eat and let me go to her house for meals. That's how I got familiar with Sean. Since she wants to see me, I have to go. When Grandma saw me, her ashen face seemed to suddenly be full of vitality. She spoke with great difficulty. Ivy, are you still angry with Sean? With tears in my eyes, I shook my head. Grandma, don't say any more. You rest first. She took my hand and sighed. You are angry and don't even come to see Grandma anymore. If I don't say it now, I'm afraid there will be no chance. It's all Sean's fault. Grandma spoke intermittently. In the end, her voice became weaker and weaker. Finally, she tightly held my hand. Don't be angry with Sean. I have let go. It's just that we can never go back to the past. Grandma, I'm not angry with him anymore. I burst into tears. Grandma and Sean are the light of my dark childhood. Without Grandma, I would have starved to death long ago. Actually, I also regret a little. Before going abroad, I should have gone back to see Grandma. But because I was holding a grudge in my heart and wanted to completely draw a clear line from Sean, so I didn't go back to see her. Grandma still left. On the day we sent Grandma off, Sean squatted in front of Grandma's tombstone, looking lonely and dejected. The whole person was decadent and sad. He is no longer that unrestrained young man full of vigor. Ryan and I said goodbye to him. The operation of the domestic branch company has entered the right track. In the future, I may rarely come back to live for a long time. Sean sat on the ground as if losing all strength. He looked up at me and murmured in a low voice, "You all leave me. Don't you all want me anymore?" I sighed. Sean, you are still young. Take good care of yourself. He didn't reply to me and lowered his head, not knowing what he was thinking. After a moment of silence, Ryan said, "Then we'll go back." Ryan pulled me and walked towards the exit. "Ivy, you must be happy." Sean's voice came from behind. I didn't turn back. "I will be happy." 15 Epilogue. Sean's perspective. Ivy and I grew up together. We were neighbors. She doesn't have a mother. She only has a father who loves drinking and beats her when he is drunk. I heard that her mother was beaten away by her father. Anyway, I have never heard her mention it. When she was a child, she was always dirty and had a runny nose. My grandma pitied her and often pulled her into the house for meals. She would follow behind me and call me brother. She would follow me to play and go to school. I was very disgusted at that time, but she always silently followed behind me. Originally, she was 2 years younger than me and not old enough to go to school, but she followed me every day and couldn't be driven away. A teacher had to agree to her enrollment. Grandma joked that she would marry her into our family to be my wife. I was both ashamed and annoyed. Who would want to marry her as a wife? You still despise her. Ivy is so well behaved. Maybe she doesn't want to marry you. Actually, my family is a bit like hers. My parents are doing business in the South. The business is getting bigger and bigger. During the spring festival when I was 10 years old, after my parents came back, my mother told me with red eyes that my father had a mistress outside. She divorced my father and told me not to look for her in the future. We both have incomplete original families. But I am still much luckier than her. At least I have grandma. And dad will send us a lot of money. Grandma spoils me a little and gives me a lot of pocket money. I often take the money and take a group of friends to eat, drink and play games. Ivy always silently follows behind. Brother. Brother. They will all laugh and say, Sean, your sister is here. I don't have a sister. A kid named and unsaid. If she's not your sister, then I'll kick her twice. He walked over and kicked Ivy to the ground. I thought she would burst into loud cries. But she didn't. She just got up, patted the dust off her body, and shouted brother to me. I don't know what happened. I was very angry and rushed up and beaten unseverely. After beating him, I scolded this group of friends. If any of you hit Ivy again in the future, I'll beat you to death. When we grew up a bit, I no longer allowed her to call me brother because there were always people making fun of me. Sean, your sweetheart is here. This made me very angry. I put on a stern face and said to Ivy, don't call me brother anymore in the future. Do you hear me? She blushed and lowered her head. I know. Later, she really didn't call me brother anymore. I felt a sense of emptiness in my heart. But I got used to it again soon. When we were in middle school, I grew very tall quickly and my facial features also developed. I heard that I was privately rated as the school's handsome guy by girls. Many girls blushed and passed me little notes. Some were even passed to me by Ivy. But the first person to confess to me openly was actually Ivy. She wasn't shy either. She pulled at the corner of my clothes and stammered that she liked me, and asked me to be her boyfriend. No, how could she understand love? She is still a little kid. So I rejected her. Although she was a bit down, she didn't seem very sad and didn't cry either. By the way, in fact, she never seems to cry. She always has a dull look. How can such a person understand love? Later, a beautiful girl confessed to me. I heard that there are many boys chasing her. Being with her will make me feel proud. So I easily agreed to her, holding that girl's hand and showing off in public. That feeling was indescribably great. But it didn't take long before the novelty wore off and I felt a bit boring. So I broke up with her. That girl cried until her eyes were swollen, which made me very irritable. What's there to cry about? This reminds me of Ivy. She is always quiet and never makes a fuss. After breaking up, I immediately went to find Ivy. Last time I left her halfway, and I still felt quite guilty. So I took her to have a big meal. In fact, I don't even understand myself. Later, there were always girls confessing to me. At first, I was always very curious about them. But after being together for a short time, I lost interest again. It wasn't until I met Fiona that it was like getting an electric shock. I felt that all my previous relationships were in vain. I held a sensational confession ceremony. She was very Ivy. At that time, I doted on Fiona very much. So I drove Ivy away following her wishes. Because I think Ivy will never leave me. She will always stand behind me when I need her. But this time I was wrong. She really left. It wasn't until all my colleagues in the company called her mobile phone, and it was turned off that I realized the seriousness of the matter. As soon as she left, I seemed to have all my strength drained away. It turns out that for so many years, my confidence has been Ivy. We couldn't take over the few orders she negotiated. Instead, we lost a lot of money. The company couldn't operate all of a sudden. What makes me most sad is that I really can't find her. I've searched many places but there is no trace of her. I even suspect that she was stimulated and committed suicide. No one knows how much I regret and blame myself. If the price of being with Fiona is losing Ivy, then I would rather not. When Fiona saw that my company had collapsed, she broke up with me. At that time, I was completely focused on finding Ivy, so I agreed readily. I closed the company and searched for her everywhere. But no one knew her whereabouts. I also reported to the police and used many connections. I was told that she had gone abroad, but other details were not revealed. At just this time, my dad had a stroke. He handed his company over to me. I moved to Benchai City. I was afraid that Ivy wouldn't be able to find me when she returned to Yongqing, so I specially opened an office there and rented the office of the original company. After Fiona learned that I had become the president of Inman Group, she came to pester me several times. I heard that the market is not good in the past 2 years. Her family's company has collapsed. She wants me to help save her family's company, which makes me even more disgusted. It turns out that except for Grandma and Ivy, no one loves me unconditionally. While working hard, I inquire about Ivy's whereabouts through various channels. My grandma also often mentions her. I don't dare to tell Grandma that I drove her away. I want to tell Ivy, come back quickly. We will be together forever from now on. I will never fall in love with others again. I only want you. 5 years later, when I was in despair, I finally got the flight information of her return to China. The destination is still Benchai City. When I saw her again, she was standing on the stage and gracefully introducing the company's products. She is no longer the girl who hides behind me. There is someone else by her side. She hides behind that man and looks at me with disgust and loathing. Sean, you are so dirty. I can't believe it. But I have to face the facts. I really lost the girl whose eyes are full of me. The little girl who followed me every day and couldn't be shaken off finally doesn't want me anymore. I can't find anyone who loves me like her anymore. Regretful and sad. I don't want to let go. But when I think of the expression of disgust, when she said I was disgusting, my heart is about to break. It turns out that being despised by the one you love is so sad. How did she get through it when I said so many hurtful things to her at that time? I am really extremely guilty. I suffer from insomnia all night long. At this time, Grandma is sick again. Grandma is the most important person in my life. She still left me. On the day I sent Grandma off, I received the diagnosis report from the hospital. My body has been not feeling well for several months. When I was staying in the hospital with Grandma, I also had a comprehensive physical examination, by the way. Looking at the 2 words stomach cancer on the diagnosis report, it took me a long time to make sure that I wasn't mistaken. Ivy came to say goodbye to me. She is going back to the United States. Well, she doesn't have to see my embarrassed appearance anymore. When I was hospitalized in the hospital, her partner called me and told me that they were going to get married and hoped that I could be present. He said, I still have to thank you for protecting her as she grew up. Her future will be guarded by me. How much I want to go to the scene to see her in a wedding dress. But I can't go anywhere now. It's better not to cause her any trouble. Ivy, I hope you will be so happy forever. Happy forever. Happy forever. Happy forever. Happy forever. Happy forever. Happy forever.